Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined, as always, with Sham Snyder from Primetime Sports Talk. Tell them where they can find your stuff before we get started.
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at buy and sell you. I write for Primetime Sports Talk, like Mark said. You can find us at Talk Primetime or primetimesportstalk.com.
Awesome. So we are here. We're going to do a Super Bowl recap. Well, quickly, last show was right before the championship games, so we will do a. I have one comment
A
on
little
that.
rusty. We're a little
We're a little rusty.
rusty.
We got to kick 3 weeks of rust off, but we're going to cover that. We'll do some brief talk on the Super Bowl, and then just some Bengal notes, and we'll go from there. We didn't want to leave you guys too long without a video, so we thought it was time to throw one up. So here we go.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Here we go. So my biggest complaint was in the championship game was that I liked that they let the Packers and Tampa Bay play, but I hated the flag at the very end of the game. I mean, they let both teams mug each other for the entire game. And then when the game's on the line, they throw a flag. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers, Tampa Bay's defense played well throughout the whole game. So I don't, Aaron Rodgers might have failed with that last attempt to score at the end, but let's give him that attempt. Let's not throw a flag and end the game. And that same complaint of the officiating is my biggest complaint about the Super Bowl. I don't think that they changed the outcome because I think Tampa Bay had a better game plan. I think they were healthy. Obviously the offensive line was in shambles for Kansas City, not to mention Andy Reid's kid was a huge distraction. I don't think they altered the outcome, but we should have gotten a much closer game. There were 5 penalties that should not have been called in the first half that directly led to points and led to the big lead going into half, and that drove me nuts. So I don't know how you felt. What were your feelings on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that in a blowout of that fashion that the refereeing could have been, or the officiating rather, could have done a whole lot more for Kansas City in that game. Tampa Bay just came in ready to play, but I agree with you. I think we would have gotten a much better game if not for the officiating.
Yeah, the Chris Jones personal foul that extended the drive was just like a push. And even Dean Blandino on Monday morning, he's on with Brady Quinn and Jim Miller, or I can't remember who's the sidekick is with Brady Quinn, but his guest appearance, he went through it. He said, that's a run over to the players and tell them to knock it off. He goes, that's not a flag. And then he even went down and he said, I didn't understand why Gene Steratore kept trying to support the calls because he disagreed with 5 of them. The pass, the ticky tack handsy on Ward that negated the Tyrann Mathieu interception was a bad call. The pass interference in the end zone on Tyrann Mathieu was a bad call. The pass interference right before half was a ticky tack call, and they were mugging. Levante David was mugging Kelsey, and they weren't calling anything. And I just
if I could, I'll do a little sidebar on this before we get back to it. I think one of the worst things that the NFL or the networks have done was bringing in the retired expert to tell you what he thinks is going to happen. Because Gene Steratore sucked ass as a referee. He was terrible. He was horrible. And
I don't know if he was horrible, but you know what?
I thought he was. And all he does now is agree with whatever the call was on the field. He's like, yeah, seems about right.
Yeah, he tried to explain these. Well, that's a penalty. It's like, but clearly, when you have 8 penalties on one team, you have 1 on another, and you saw how closely they were covering, Hill, and they were bumping him on the line. It was very physical. To let one side go and then be ticky-tack on the other, just be even. And I just felt like if we didn't have all those bad calls, we would have gotten a 26-21 Super Bowl, not a 31-9. That's all. I don't think it changed the outcome because Todd Bowles did an absolutely amazing job scheming. The game plan was absolutely perfect. Tampa Bay came to play, and they were the healthier team. If you don't think that the O-line is 100% important. Even with Patrick Mahomes, they could not save him. I mean,
Yeah.
you could see how important. No Mitchell Schwartz, no Eric Fisher. I mean, it was hard.
You got to protect even Superman. But just like you said, if you go down the game stats for that game, team by team, first downs mostly even, total plays mostly even, total yards mostly even, drives were the same, yards per play were like 0.2 difference. The rush yards, both teams rushed the ball terribly, but they were negligible, the difference between the two, until you get down to two factors. One is Mahomes threw 2 interceptions, and
Right.
those were the only 2 turnovers in the game.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Well, there should have
Obviously,
been one more.
turnovers.
The refs took one away. Brady did throw a pick, but it
Yeah.
got negated by penalty. So
Yeah. But so you get the 2 interceptions, and then you get to penalties. Kansas City, 11 for 120.
yeah,
Tampa Bay, 4 for 39.
right.
I mean, and that's exactly what you're saying right now.
And it was 8-1. It was 8-1 in the first half. You had 8 penalties, I think, for 95 yards on Kansas City, and you had 1 penalty for 5 yards. They didn't call one holding penalty. They didn't call one illegal contact, 1 hand to the face. With all the contact that was going on between David and Kelsey, there wasn't 1 penalty thrown there, but all these little ticky-tack calls, that directly led to points. That was my biggest beef. I think we got cheated out of a closer game, but I do think Tampa Bay would have still won the game. I don't think
it adds up when you're talking about, the Chiefs inside the 20 in the red zone. The Chiefs were 0 for 3 and shouldn't have been probably. And Tampa Bay was 3 for 5, and they shouldn't have been that good probably.
Right.
So exactly what you're saying. It should have been a lot closer than it was. I wanted to take a second, if I could segue, Mark. I wanted to take a second and say, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this. And if you hate me for saying it, go ahead and drop it in the comments.
Drop it in the comments.
Anybody that doesn't like this, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. My football life, and I'm not even joking, has gotten so much better since I stopped wasting so much time hating Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest, if you don't think he's at least one of the greatest quarterbacks in the world that has ever played the game, you're insane. The guy has got 7 rings, and he and Gronkowski were up there to their old tricks again. And Gronkowski he had 6 catches. That was tied for first for him this season. You know what else was tied for first? The first time they played Kansas City. So where are you, Chiefs? Cover the tight end, for crying out loud.
Yeah, now I got to agree with you. I don't think you're going to take any flack. We used to do this other show where, for those of you who watched us on the previous channel, which will not be mentioned, we used to say we used to say F the Patriots at the end. That was the Raven guy's big thing. And I always used to say, but I respect him. I like him. I would tell everybody on that show how I bet Tom Brady this weekend because I want him to come through. He's a great quarterback. I don't have any hatred towards Patriots or Patriots fans. I envy them, and I've always envied that they have Robert Kraft as a great owner. I envy it. I don't hate it. I know Tom Brady's. He's got more Super Bowl wins, not just appearances. He's got 10 appearances. He's got more Super Bowl wins than any other team.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got 7.
What more is there? What more is there?
No,
he's if you look at him, he's you can hate him all you want because he's successful, but he's kind of a goofball, and he's got a great sense of humor. If you look at his Twitter feed, it's really funny. If you saw him at the party coming off the boat in Tampa Bay when he was just, crazy drunk,
Yeah.
and threw the Lombardi from one boat to another
That's
and
80
stuff
foot
like
drop.
that.
If Brake doesn't catch it, that trophy falls 80 feet to the ground.
Yeah, but I mean,
So
but at the
that
same
was the most
time,
important catch Brake had.
Tom Brady, he knows, he's like, I can do this. I'm Tom Brady.
Right.
And he's not being pompous. He's just like, I can get away with this. This is okay. I'll still be, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. And my football life has just gotten so much better when I've considered the fact that someday I'm going to tell my grandkids, hey, I watched that guy play.
I watched that
And
guy's
I
whole
know
career.
everybody else will too. And other people will say, well, I watched that guy play and I hated him. But I stopped hating and just started saying, you know what? Let's just watch this. He's
great.
He's not the most gifted guy. It's like the ultimate Rudy story.
Yeah,
He wasn't supposed to be good. He was never supposed to even be drafted into the NFL.
Right.
He had no business being there. And look at him now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me. Again, drop it in the comments. Give me all your hate. Give me all your hate. I want it all.
We're going to segue into hate. So let's go into the announcement of the Hall of Fame class, okay, for 2021. And Woodson gets in, and I'm not bashing Woodson. What I'm bashing is the Hall of Fame. Here's a guy with the same number. They're tied for 5th on lifetime interceptions with Kenny Riley, who did it when there were only 14-game seasons and did it when they weren't, they didn't throw the ball as much. It wasn't as prolific a pass game when Kenny Riley did it. And yeah, he's sitting there and he's still not in the Hall, and now he's deceased. So he won't even know that he got into the Hall. And that just drives me nuts. I mean, this is why I call it the Hall of Scams. I've called it the Hall of Shame. I've called it a bunch of things, because literally you look at Willie Anderson, you look at all the people we've had that could be in the Hall of Fame, and Kenny Anderson, Kenny Riley, and all we have is Anthony Munoz. That's it.
Right.
Well, we have. I don't count Terrell Owens just because he played a season for us. I mean, true Bengals in the Hall. We have Anthony Munoz, and that's it.
Right.
And that's a scam. And then to top it off, the NFL left him off the in memoriam, which I know the Bengals released a statement on it, but just shows you the complete disrespect. Everybody above and now several people below Kenny Riley are in the Hall, and he's not in the Hall.
It's completely outrageous. And you know what? To take your point a little further, I'll use the exact same name. I'll talk about Darren Woodson, who is up for a Hall of Fame again, and or is in, I believe.
I think he's in.
And he's in, and he's got almost identical numbers to Riley. Actually, Riley's are better,
right?
But Darren's got 3 championships. So that's pretty much what got him over the hump. Here's the thing about Riley. When he played, not only was it 14-game seasons, but tackles were not recorded.
Right.
Passes defensed were not recorded. So he's going up against guys that have supposedly better numbers, because they played in an era where there were certain stats recorded that Riley never got credit for. Who knows how many tackles Riley actually got credit for? I'm sure somebody has done the math, and I'm sure it's there, but I mean, come on.
No. Well, they didn't record sacks when Dick Butkus played and he got in. So,
right.
It's they only started recording sacks later on. So a lot of these guys, Deacon Jones, you have no idea how many sacks they had. Well, they didn't keep that stat.
Right. So, I mean, but you're talking, Riley was maybe 5 or 6 times first team all conference, 5 or 6 times second team all conference. The guy was always there, had 5 touchdowns, had a bunch of interceptions, scored 30 points. I mean, give me a break. Him not being there it's ludicrous.
It's terrible. The middle throwback helmet right there, that's signed by Ross Browner, Lamar Parrish, and Kenny Riley at a signing they were together at 5 years ago or so. So I've got that, but that's on that throwback right there. So and I said when I got that, I said, you know what? I wanted him in the Hall of Fame. Every year I tweet this because I wanted them to get in while it was in his lifetime. It's one thing to honor him, and so they make it right and they get him in a year or two. His daughter or somebody is making the speech, not him. He's gone. In his lifetime, they could have inducted him.
Well, and Riley, I mean, just alone his durability, we talked about how many 14-game seasons he played. He played in 207 games. He played in 207 games.
And it's fifth on the list and he played when they didn't pass the ball that much. If you had a quarterback that threw the ball 20 times, that was a lot.
Yeah.
It was not the passing game it was today. They didn't have the rules that defended the offense so much, so they didn't pass as much. They ran, and it was a different game, and it's complete disrespect. And that segues us into, I blame the Bengals for a lot of this, because they're talking about now they're going to do a Ring of Honor. Well, if they had been doing a Ring of Honor since the 80s, I mean, there's a lot of guys on that Super Bowl team, the Boomer team, that would be in the Ring of Honor. I mean, we should have been promoting our own players. So this goes right back to the Bengals themselves. So why is it 2021 and we're talking about a Ring of Honor where these teams have had it forever?
I agree with that. And for anybody watching that doesn't already know, it's not like the Bengals came out and said they were going to do that. What they did was they posted a picture of a snow-covered Paul Brown Stadium field, and then they deleted it later, but not before James Rappian zoomed in on a couple things, and they had a couple banners, with different fonts. Obviously, I think there were different banners. I think they were viewing fonts to see what would look good, what wouldn't. So there's a picture that says, Kenny Anderson in one area, Crumry in an area,
right,
Munoz in an area, and everybody's like, okay, finally, maybe we're going to get a Ring of Honor. But I agree with you 100%, Mark. This is every other team promotes their own players.
right.
They have their own Ring of Honor. They pump their own players up. They call the committee and say, this guy needs to get in. This guy needs to be on the ballot. And, Mike Brown never did that.
No, and it's similar to, I don't know if people know about how the studios do their stuff, but they'll pick their shows that they really want to push the Academy on for nominations. Right. Get these films up for your consideration. The studios have some say, and they lean and it's promoting your own stuff. You want your movies to win Oscars or Emmy, or shows to win Emmys if you're a studio, and it's a similar type of thing. But the Bengals once again are late to the dance. So.
Late to the dance, but not. I mean, but not done for, because I do think that it's been clear for the last 2 years that Mike Brown, even though he may have the final say, it's clear that Katie and Troy are running this team. And they're running it more like the way we want them to run it.
Right.
The fact that there is a Ring of Honor coming around, the fact that we did spend in free agency last year, the fact that we did, make the tough cuts and the tough hires and things like that. So I've got a little, I'm apprehensive, but I've got a little hope that it's going to be, better than it was under Mike. At least it certainly seems like it is right now.
Right. Well, and and our social media is getting better. Mike Brown, I don't think is that proficient with social media from his era. I mean, how people, my dad's in his 80s. He's not on Twitter. He's not on
nobody.
I'm happy
Mike Brown's like, nobody looks at that, right? What is
I'm happy he can text, and he knows how to stream audio, Netflix and stuff. So once I get it set up for him, so it's but yeah, that kind of drove me nuts. So
well, I'm looking forward to there being some sort of Ring of Honor, and I think it's, everybody's going to speculate on what names are on there, and I think expecting there to be anything more than, maybe 6 to start is probably
Anderson, Riley, Munoz, Crumry, and then you can put in Willie Anderson. Obviously you can't put in Whitworth yet; he'll be there. one
I
day.
think I
But
think I think Isaac Curtis
I,
should probably
right,
be
Isaac
there.
Curtis gets in, so we'll see how it goes. And
And
then,
then you look down the line. You've got guys like Reggie Williams. You got David Fulcher,
yeah, Fulcher redefined.
Max
Fulcher,
Montoya. It's
oh, definitely Montoya. There's
yeah,
no question. And you got to think guys like Fulcher, people don't understand if you didn't get to see him play, he redefined that position. He
yeah,
opened the door for guys like Bob Sanders and Sean Taylor. He was one of the first guys to play that kind of defense, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So is Fulcher. So I just,
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they do it, who they select to start with. Because I mean, keep in mind, just in the little font scheme that we saw, and you know what? I'll put the picture in the comments
okay.
for anybody that wants to see it from the deleted tweet of them just kind of checking out what the fonts are going to be like. Um, you know, I, it's going to be interesting to see who the first couple people they pick will be, because you can't just put everybody in all at once. You can't just have
Oh no,
all of a,
there's only so
all,
many
all of
things.
a sudden you can't have a 15-person ring of
Well,
honor.
this for me got came back to the surface when I saw Woodson get in, and I was like, "Here's the guy tied." Because I've looked at the lifetime interception, list for the list of lifetime interceptions, and Ken Riley's number 5, and I knew Woodson was tied with him. I knew everybody above him was in, and a bunch of people below him were in, and I was just and this just kind of brought it all back when Woodson got in. And like
Yeah,
I said, I'm not bashing Woodson. I'm not. This isn't about Woodson. This is about Riley not being in when he should be. So, but
yeah, 65 interceptions.
yeah,
65 interceptions, 5 touchdowns.
yeah, no, yeah.
And
Listen, he was
who knows how many tackles.
who knows. So, and then we can just briefly discuss, because we're going to do a whole show on free agency and players that we should re-sign. We'll do that in a couple weeks. But it's going to be interesting to see if the Jets trade Darnold. Maybe they'll be in the quarterback market again. And then I think I see kind of Sewell. I've seen lots of mocks, but I think there's a possibility that Sewell's there at 5. And there was a couple other linemen I think that have come in rising up forward. So there's a lineman there for us at 5. There's no doubt in my mind.
I agree. I think Penny's going to be there at 5. I really do, because I think Miami might be willing to trade back again and get more picks and let somebody like Carolina trade up to get either Zach Wilson or Josh Fields.
Right.
At number 3, is it?
Right.
So I think we got a really good shot at Sewell. Regardless, for the first time in my history, because I've always said best player available, for the first time in my history, I'm saying let's go position and let's reach. And I'm looking at if Sewell's not there, I'm looking at Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. He's 6'3", he's 310. He's a tackle by nature, but he can play any position on the offensive line. And if you're a Bengals fan, you know that we need any position on the offensive line.
Oh,
and he's really good too. I'm not trying to sell him short. He's mocked to go anywhere from 10 to 15. So 5 seems high. It's a reach. It's definitely a reach. But if you need an offensive lineman like most teams do that bad, why not go for it?
right.
If Sewell's gone, I say take him. Don't
Right.
take Jamar Chase. Don't take a wide receiver. We can get a wide receiver. We can get a guy. Wide receivers don't even pan out for their first 3 years anyway, usually.
If you watch the Super Bowl and you watch the Bengals this year, we need to protect Joe Burrow.
Of course.
You've heard Russell Wilson in the offseason right now, actually, creating a situation in Seattle. Dan Patrick reported that Seattle's not happy he took his grievance public about being knocked around too much and them not drafting linemen enough and getting him enough help. So there's a lot of players that are looking, and this is a lineman rich draft. We need to go O-line. We need to go O-line in probably 2 of our first 3 picks. I mean, I don't know if it's 1-2, but it's 1-3. But the first pick our first round pick needs to be an offensive lineman. I don't mind trading back if we can, but we need to load up on offensive line. This is for Joe Burrow. We have 4 years left of his rookie deal. Get them in front of Frank Pollock as soon as possible. Get these linemen in that conference room.
I agree with that. I agree, and I don't mind trading back either, except that once you trade back, you're offering someone else the opportunity to trade up in front of you and nab a guy, because everybody needs offensive line talent.
Right.
So,
Well,
in my opinion, if Sewell isn't there and Slater is, mocked to go, around 11, I say screw
take
it.
him at 5.
Take him at 5.
Yeah.
Take him at 5 and just go, all right, cool. And there's going to be Bengals fans out there that wanted, Jamar Chase or this guy or that guy. And I'm like, well, you can't throw to Jamar Chase if Joe Burrow's getting his leg broken every
No,
play.
listen, I don't want to have another season where we're watching Brandon Allen or somebody else in there. So, by the way, that backup quarterback on Washington who looked pretty good, who I said I would take him as our backup, just got a 2-year deal.
He got a 2-year deal.
He got a real contract now. He got a 2-year contract. Washington said you're not leaving the building. I think I gave $8 million over 2 years or something, but they basically said,
good,
you're not going anywhere.
Good for him.
Well, he played great.
For him.
He played better than Dwayne Haskins. Haskins is not a Redskin because
no, Haskins is a Steeler. He's a Steeler.
Yeah, that's good. that's actually classic. So we'll have to see how that plays out. We don't even know if Haskins makes the team. He hasn't shown right now. He has shown that he's more Jamarcus Russell than anything else, or Ryan Leaf. So show us that you belong in the league. And he was for the Steelers. I understood. I think Carolina was looking at him too. It was chump change to pick him up. He was going to play for any, take any contract he could get just to get back on the team.
Sure, I don't blame that.
Yeah.
So,
no, not at all. So we'll see how that plays out. You were talking about being flexible on the line, and you know what that reminded me of? Earlier this week, Orlando Brown was asking to be traded from the Ravens because he didn't like the fact that they played him in other positions other than left tackle. And I thought, first of all, if you could ask for your trade, but by putting it that way, you hardly are coming across as a team-friendly player. When they put you in the O-line room, if for injury purposes they need to move you around, you need to go with that. You can't be griping, I'm only a left tackle. Okay, great. That makes you less useful on our team. You need to be a Swiss Army knife. Bill Parcells used to talk about the guys that are on 4, 5, 6 teams. There's offense and defense, but then you have punt return, field goal, kickoff, kick return. There's all these teams, and he used to talk about guys like Dan Skuda who are a 5-team guy. Those are the guys that make rosters because they're in different places.
Because they can do whatever. Yep.
Yeah. As an offensive lineman to say I'm only a tackle, okay, great, thanks a lot. Well, we need you wherever we need you.
Yeah,
I didn't think that was a good play by him at all. So we'll see what happens. He's still a Raven, but it reminded me of that. So, all right, anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I'm good to go, baby.
All right, so we'll come back, and there's no combine. There are going to be different pro days, or people are going to have practices for the scouts and everything, but there's no organized combine. And I think free agency is going to be closer to, I think, mid-March and not the first couple days of March. So, but we'll be back. We'll do a show where we talk about I'm wearing 58 because I want to keep Lawson. I think he's an important re-sign.
Gotta do it.
So we're both wearing 58s for to get Lawson back. So we'll do a show where we cover that.
Yep.
And then obviously free agency. I mean, I want to see us go out. There's the guard on New England would be a great get. We need to do more than just draft our linemen. We're going to have to bring in some veterans from other teams, and we got to spend some money. So
we'll talk about it.
So we'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks. We'll see how the schedule plays out. We wait for news to break. Also, the thing that got this show on was the Kenny Riley. I said, we got to do a show. I'm pissed. So, so we'll wait and see how things play out. But we'll definitely see you in a couple of weeks. Please subscribe. It's the only thing we ask. I should have said it earlier in the video. I didn't, but please subscribe. It's all we ask for. And Any other, remind them where they can find your stuff again before we go.
Absolutely. At Buy and Sell You on Twitter, at Talk Primetime, or primetimesportstalk.com.
Right. So we will be back with that. I want to tell everybody, hey, have a great Valentine's Day is coming up. Have the NCAA tournament dates were announced. We got a lot of stuff on the horizon to look forward to. But be safe, be healthy, get your vaccine if you're qualified already. I'm not old enough yet to get one, but hopefully they'll get to tier 3 in California soon. But stay safe, stay healthy. I'm going to say hooday, everybody.
Hooday. Happy Valentine's Day.
Take care, everybody.